Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the digital shadows and really get into how modern cyber attacks actually work, from start to finish.
You know, it feels like every single day we're hearing about some new attack. And it's true, the digital world is just constantly under fire. You see headlines about critical software flaws, and bam, there's suddenly weapons for ransomware gangs.
And at the same time, you've got these massive botnets. I mean, check this out, the Kim Wolf network, quietly taking over millions of our own devices.
And then you have these super sophisticated campaigns breaking into the biggest cloud providers out there. The point is, these aren't just random one-off events. Nope, this is the daily reality. Our digital world is basically under siege.
So, it makes you wonder, right? How does a hacker take one tiny little vulnerability, just one unlocked door, and turn it into a total system takedown? Well, that's what we're here to do. We're going to go way past the headlines and really dissect the anatomy of a modern cyber attack. Okay, so here's our game plan. We'll start with the big picture, today's digital battlefield. Then we'll walk through a real cloud hack piece by piece. We'll deconstruct something called the kill chain, figure out what the key vulnerability was, and then talk about how we can rethink our defenses. And finally, we'll touch on the most important part, the human factor.
All right, Section 1, today's digital battlefield. Let's just try and get our heads around the sheer scale of what we're up against.
So get this, 1.8 million. That's how many Android TV devices were hijacked by a single botnet called Kim Wolf. Think about that. These are everyday gadgets in our homes, and they're being secretly turned into this massive, weaponized army. And the crazy part? The owners have absolutely no idea it's happening.
Okay, to really get how these attacks work, we're going to zoom in on a specific case study, a recent campaign that went after one of the biggest names in the cloud, Amazon Web Services.
So, what happened here? Well, attackers figured out how to get inside customer accounts on Amazon Web Services. And what were they after? They wanted to steal computing power to mine cryptocurrency. It's actually a pretty classic move, a purely financial attack where they turn a company's own powerful computers against them to make a quick buck.
Now, to break this down, security experts have this really useful framework. It's called the cyber kill chain, and it helps map out exactly how an attack unfolds step by step.
So what is a cyber kill chain? Basically, it's a model that lays out all the steps an attacker has to take to get what they want. You can think of it like a chain of dominoes, right? They need each one to fall, one after the other. But here's the cool part for defenders. If you can stop just one of those dominoes from falling, you can break the whole chain and stop the attack in its tracks.
All right, let's walk through the steps for this AWS hack. First, initial access. The attacker gets in using stolen user credentials, and not just any credentials, ones with admin-level powers. Next up, discovery. They immediately start scanning the environment, figuring out what they can access. Then execution, and this is the part that's just wild. Within 10 minutes of getting in, they're already deploying their crypto mining software. 10 minutes. And finally, persistence. They use some clever tricks to hide what they're doing and make it harder for anyone to kick them out. But let's go back to that timeline. Less than 10 minutes from entry to execution. That is unbelievably fast. For security teams, by the time an alarm bell even rings, the game is already over. That's not just a security gap, folks. That's a canyon.
So that brings us to the most important question. What was the single point of failure here? What made this whole thing possible? And here it is, straight from the source. The whole attack hinged on using compromised credentials for identity and access management. I mean, let that sink in. The attackers didn't need some super complex zero-day exploit. They didn't have to hack the code. Nope, they just needed the right set of keys. They literally just walked in the front door. This all comes down to something called IAM, or Identity and Access Management. And in the cloud, IAM credentials are like the master key card to the entire building. They can unlock the most sensitive, most critical parts of a company's digital world. And if those keys get stolen, well, the entire kingdom is up for grabs.
And this right here, this is exactly why the old ways of thinking about security just aren't cutting it anymore. We have to completely rethink how we defend ourselves, leading to a new model called Zero Trust.
Okay, so let's compare the old way with the new way. The old model is often called castle and moat. You build this huge, strong wall around your network, and you just assume that anyone and anything inside that wall is safe and trusted. The new model, Zero Trust, flips that completely on its head. It assumes nothing is trusted by default. Not you, not your computer, nothing. The old castle and moat model is like having a fortress with giant walls, but zero guards inside. Once an attacker gets over that wall, they can run wild.
So, to put it simply, Zero Trust is like a high-tech security building, where you don't just swipe your badge at the front door, you have to swipe it at every single door inside. The whole mindset is built on the assumption that an attacker might already be in the network, and the goal is to stop them from moving around. But you know what? Even with the fanciest security models like Zero Trust, there's still one variable, one component that you can't just patch with software, and that's us, the human factor. So what have we learned? What should you really take away from all this? First, identity is the new perimeter. Protecting our credentials is more important than ever. Second, speed is everything. These attackers are moving in minutes, not days. Third, you have to assume you've already been breached. That Zero Trust mindset is what helps limit the damage. And finally, hackers often look for easy wins, like unlocked doors, not super complex exploits. The bottom line is, technology alone isn't a silver bullet. Our own awareness, our own security habits, that's the real final line of defense. And that leaves us with this final big question to chew on. As our technology gets smarter and smarter, does our greatest security risk just become our own human nature? Something to think about as we all try to stay safe out there.